I had to score one tournament in Illinois. He was my competitor. He had one shot you couldn't tell where it was. I said, well, they asked me to score it. I said, well, can't tell for sure what it is, but I said, give him the higher score. And it beat me by 1 point.
No. Generous you are.
Beat me by
Very
1
generous.
point.
Humble.
The consummate
That's the
gentleman.
problem.
His name
the problem
was
of paper.
Jerry Blanchard he was from Wisconsin.
Jerry
He was a good shooter.
I think one of the problems here is that the country is so big, and trying to get enough people together to a shoot. When you talk about Spain and you talk about Yugoslavia and all that, they're small countries basically. England, of course, China is huge.
Yeah.
But it's simpler to get people together for a shoot. You get a couple 100 miles. You get people on the forum. You have 5,000 members on Slingshot forum now.
Philly's got a good point.
Yeah,
because
it's a group of people.
Look at our group in New York.
It's the truth.
We've been at it for about 3 years now. We're not really adding people to it. People do come and go, but you always have basic five
Yeah,
shooters.
five to core.
Like
Core,
myself,
core,
Gary,
core.
Kenny,
Yeah.
and that's it. Our group isn't growing. We're
Right
just
on.
shooting together, but we're not growing. We should be growing. How do we do that? We have a guy in Westchester who's been promising forever to come down.
Guy in Brooklyn
and
says he's
never
coming to the
has
next
come
one.
down.
We'll see.
Why is it that the
We don't
overseas
know.
guys are getting bigger and we here are staying stagnant? We're the small little group and
Right now, it may have to do with the economy too. I mean, gas is not cheap.
Well, but then on the other side of that is SlingshotLeague.com, and I really wish MJ was here to chime in on this because he's been so active. But when that came about, I mean, I applauded that. I don't necessarily have the time myself to.
I think that was a
engage
great
in that.
idea.
Fantastic
Absolutely wonderful idea.
because it gives you a forum wherever you are in the world to compete with your fellows.
Absolutely
And,
wonderful
that's
idea.
what we've got here, and there's nothing can compare to being with other shooters and shooting together.
I think it was great. Yeah.
But so what can we do there on a world level to make it matter? And when I say matter, it's always for just pride or bragging rights. But slingshots, they're every bit as worthy of archery as an Olympic sport. And I think I can go around this group right here and
Absolutely.
slingshots are for real.
Absolutely.
So, have you seen that, Blue? In the past, back in the 70s and 80s when you were shooting, what kind of turnout would you have spectators?
You'd only have 15 or 20 good shooters. Kent Shepard, one of the first ones I went to, we had about 150, but a lot of them was kids. You had 15 or 20 good shooters. That's about the limit of it.
But would you have folks come out to watch the event?
Oh, yeah. And we had,
Did you ever get
it's
in
pretty well
newspapers?
covered by the news media also.
Okay.
That helps.
That's, So what can we do to get this? I went to the all Pittsburgh media outlets starting in February, emailing them and calling them and telling them that there was a human interest piece happening in Alberton, Pennsylvania this weekend. And I have yet to hear from CBS, ABC, or NBC.
Jay had the same problem. They don't care. They don't care.
And it just blows my mind because this is human interest at its core, in my opinion. Because I mean, a bunch of nuts getting together to shoot slingshots. Look at it. Look at our diversity. I mean, we've got Philly and we've got Blue, and that just doesn't mean that we're a bunch of old dudes.
Thank you. Yeah, Lou, he's calling us old, me and
We've
you.
got Ray. He's 15, and his mom said that he could come.
When he went to champion. And he becomes champion.
The year that baseball was on strike, they had news media come to Malta Lakes to watch us shoot. And one of the news people was a quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And they did an article on it. He showed a kid shooting, then where target didn't show where he hit. I shot and made a bullseye, and that's what he showed.
It works. It works.
But I don't shoot as good now as I once did.
I would argue against that.
Huh?
I say you shoot damn good.
I would argue against that, let me tell you. I don't know the right way to do it. I don't know. Call the NRA and say, hey, give us some help. They seem to have a lot of power. I don't know. I don't know how to, you got
have to do with firearms.
It has to do with firearms, that's
They're not
it,
gonna
yeah.
get involved.
They're not going to
Well,
get
all right.
involved.
Well, just bringing that up. This is one that I've been trying to find the right public forum for, and this is going to be on YouTube. But the National Shooting Sports Federation, NSSFF, huge contributors to all sorts of lobbies. they're all about protecting our rights as U.S. citizens to bear and keep and bear arms. And the root of that is that slingshots are a way for families to come together. Not slingshots, sorry. Firearms are a way for families to come together in a safe, moderated way. Slingshots, and that's my whole thing, is I'm advocating slingshots. If you're a firearms enthusiast, if you're an archery enthusiast, if you're a wing shooting enthusiast, slingshots are cross-training. It's the perfect adjunct therapy for your preferred shooting sport. And I haven't fly fished much since I've been a slingshot shooter, but the last time I went fly fishing, I was able to cast much more accurately, and I attribute that to my slingshot shooting. So slingshots, are a way to take shooting sports, guns and bows, which has a huge segment of the population dollars that are going into shooting sports. Why can't slingshots tag them to the back end of that? Because it's a way for children to get involved in it. It doesn't cost much. It's low impact. There's no noise. It can be done indoors. It can be done in youth groups. So, ideas, guys. How can we?
See, one of the problems, speaking of children, is one of the problems Arjun has. This is a complaint constantly. There's no other kids shooting.
Yeah.
So he feels that now he's competing against you guys, which he is.
He is, and he's kicking.
Make him a
ass.
better shooter, yeah. He's kicking
Taking names too.
I was with him this
That's only
afternoon.
helping him.
Artie, hit that handle on that
he's
cup.
very
and
good.
Shot the handle.
Yes,
clean off
I
the
see
cup.
it.
He's doing good, but he feels that he's competing against adults, guys like Ray and Jim and whatnot, and he's going, how come there are no kids my age shooting into this? How can we get kids his age, 10, 12, 13, 14, to get into this sport? We need to get kids in here. So you know what?
That'd be so
Those
great.
guys will be the future us.
Yes.
Because
People
right
have
now,
it,
what's
yeah.
going to happen is that we're going to get old, and who's going to replace this?
So my first thought of that,
They used to do it with the
I've
Boy
been kind of
Scouts.
thinking of that same thing as
Remember when I was a Boy
paintballs.
Scout?
They don't do it no more.
Because kids, as much as we lamented their video game culture,
Yes.
and if we can take paintballs and they shoot with a straight trajectory and you can learn ballistics, that hand-eye coordination, and it splats at the end of it, then so be it, if it gets kids involved. So maybe we just need to get kids shooting each other and other things.
You got a
Paintballs.
problem
Would the Boy
with
Scouts get involved with
the the nanny state.
Boy Scouts.
You know,
The
the
Boy
state
Scouts shoot
regulators,
paintballs?
regulate, like
That
hand,
would be an
people that are against handguns and
Yeah.
such.
Well, we're always going to have that, and the great thing is that I think, and I'm just speaking from my personal opinion, that we're always going to ride in the shadows of something larger, which is a gun that goes bang, because a slingshot just goes pop, and it's often thought of as a toy. And we all know, and we don't necessarily need to promote the fact that a slingshot can generate the velocity, the foot-pounds of power, and the accuracy that's capable of making it a regulated weapon. So keep that quiet and just grow it up. Because if slingshots, that's not a good analogy. I won't even do this on video.
It's
But
just a big boys
slingshots
video game.
are a gateway shooting sport. If you want to use the analogies from other things in our culture, it is the thing that gets you started, and you go, "Oh wow, that's pretty neat. I want to do that some more." So if you get into slingshots and it grows into archery, or if it grows into wing shooting, or if it grows into deer hunting, or any of those things, I think it's a good thing. So what can we do as a slingshot community? We've got the National Slingshot Association, the NSA, which
Boy Scouts. I keep coming back
and I
to Boy
keep coming back to Boy Scouts.
I
but
keep coming back to Boy
I
Scouts. 'cause-
keep running headlong into Boy Scouts attorneys.
Yeah, I know. And that's what the thing. I mean, the best source that I think would be Boy Scouts because it's organized and everything else.
Every time.
But liabilities and everything else.
Well,
That's what we were
went to
afraid of
summer
today.
camp.
That's what we were afraid to do. Right? But they're shooting bows. They're shooting bows and arrows.
And
They're
they're
shooting
shooting
air
22s.
guns. They're shooting blowguns. Some outfits, some segments are shooting blowguns.
We run it
But
full
yet,
wing it.
nobody wants to take a chance on a slingshot.
Yes.
No.
Where I shoot it.
Yeah, but
You can
paintball
go-
guns, some paintball guns can shoot in excess of
Oh, yeah.
450 feet per second. You ain't gonna give a kid that's gonna shoot at 450 feet per second slingshot. He ain't gonna be able to do it.
And with a slingshot, you have, especially with scouting, you don't have just the shooting. You can have the craft.
It's the
Right,
The
making
history.
sure.
You're giving them a creation, yeah.
Yeah.
But like everybody said who's approached it, everybody who's approached the Boy Scouts, it's a brick wall.
It's like the
I mean-
Pinewood Slingshot Derby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Build it and race it.
Build it.
If
Now
they
you
have-
build it and shoot it.
If they have a merit badge for rifling and archery, you know, I would think that slingshotting should
I
be
don't
accepted.
I don't either. Wow.
All right, so now that we're on that topic, then, Mike, I'll get right to you. Hang on. Let's
Yeah,
just-
Mike.
Just
Okay, good.
keep that.
You're the moderator, baby.
Go ahead,
You
Mike.
call it. I don't know.
All right, just going to throw that out there, Mike. Definitely hang on to that one. Hang on
My
to it.
nephew.
Hang on to it.
Okay.
Hang on to it for just a second. So just to throw that out there, just before we leave it, is that everybody leave tonight with the notion of be thinking about how we can promote this in the popular culture
I'm
in
gonna
a
approach it.
positive way.
Mhm.
And I think youth is our very first
Mhm.
avenue. And then something being proactive. I think Chief AJ's doing great stuff with the paintballs. And Jake State, I wish Jim was in here right now because he does a lot of Jake State events through the National Wild Turkey Federation, which is a huge money-making entity that has a whole lot of persuasive power in Congress. How can we grab a hold of things that are simple, that ignite the boyhood notion of everybody holds
You
a
need
slingshot.
to get the leaders
Right.
hooked.
Stay away from
You know?
council. You wanna stay
I
away
mean-
from the Boy Scout camp. I ran a scout troop for 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to the scoutmaster. They'll
I'm
let
saying,
you,
if
man,
you-
right,
if
bring
you
in
get the
from
scoutmasters
and let you do the shooting.
psyched
Go to the
about it.
council, that's when the lawyers come in.
They're gonna push it.
Maybe we should start doing demos at Cub Scouts
Yeah,
meetings.
that's it.
Well, YouTube has
Instead of-
generated a lot
Instead
of.
of pulling them to shoot, we should go down there and do a demo
the
for them and let
scoutmasters,
the kids go, oh my God, look at that, he's shooting with cannons.
What do you think? What do you think the number one need for the Boy Scouts is?
I think the number one need for the Boy Scouts is
Probably money, right?
well, no, I think money always.
So then, why not try to do something to reach out to them by sponsoring one of their events?
I think the Boy Scouts just need a face of something that's socially acceptable, and I probably should say that off camera, but archery is socially acceptable. There's been enough done within the archery industry. You can have it create as much mayhem with a bow as you can a slingshot. But Fred Bear did an admirable job of creating archery as a gentleman's sport.
Right.
Something that you do with a sense of pride and dedication to the pursuit of the animal in the field, and there's a lore about it. He tapped into the consciousness of the sportsman. Slingshots have not ever been tapped into the consciousness of the sportsman. They've been